Routine, routine, routine. Make sure that you maintain a routine. It is so important that you set a new schedule for yourself.
Welcome to The Lauren Show. I'm Lauren Cosgrave, designer of the Action Taker Planner, and I help people lead careers and lives that they love. Around here, normal is boring, success is inevitable, and action taking is replacing the grind. I just wanted to give you a heads up that a lot of these episodes I filmed as live streams on my social media platforms, so if you hear me referencing things from the past or maybe pointing at something on my screen, that's what it's all about. You can always go and watch this podcast on YouTube or follow on Facebook and Instagram at Lauren Cosgrave Co. for the latest coaching, power tips, and an awesome community.
Today, I want to share with you the 7 things that the Navy taught me about how to handle this quarantine situation that we're in right now. I'm Lauren Cosgrave, and I'm a certified high performance coach if we've never met before. And this time has been so challenging for so many of us because it's unlike anything we've ever done before. But I was having some conversations this weekend with some really high performers, people that are lawyers and doctors, and they're struggling with this right now. They're having a tough time trying to figure out, how do I manage all of this? We've never experienced this level of lockdown before. They're getting pretty darn stir crazy. And on the flip side of it, what I found with my Navy friends is we're kind of all used to this. There's not much different than what we experienced when we went on deployments, when we spent time away from our family at sea. And so I wanted to share with you the 7 things that the Navy taught me to help me navigate this quarantine. And it's things that my friends have been asking me. They're like, Lauren, how are you managing all of this? And how are you getting it done? So for those of you that don't know, I served for 11 years as an officer in the Navy. This was my cover. And I served on ships at sea. I was most recently the combat systems officer on USS Chosin. And we went on a 6-month-long deployment. I spent 6 months away from home on a ship at sea. And ships are pretty tight, confined quarters. Most people sharing their room with multiple people in a stateroom or living in a bunk room style type space with 40 other people in one confined space and 3 racks on top of each other. So imagine that situation for 6 months compared to what we have now with this quarantine where we get to be in the comfort of our homes. So now I don't want to downplay this coronavirus quarantine situation. It's not easy. I hear you, I empathize, I understand. I'm right there with you. I agree that it's not easy. I'm not navigating this with total ease and grace. I've had my ups and downs, and I've had to go back to the basics and remember these 7 things that the Navy taught me, and I'm still working on them every day. Okay, so the first thing that the Navy taught me was do not complain. Please, 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 really be conscious of your language right now. Your children are listening. If you have children at home, do not complain. That's what they will hear. They will pick up on it. There is a way that you could talk about this situation and say that it's tough or it's challenging or you're learning new ways to do things that doesn't come across as just straight complaining. Complaining is when you drop a problem in a conversation or on someone else's lap and you don't act like there's any way that you can get out of it. Complaining is just saying how terrible something is without coming up with creative solutions to make it better. I had an amazing commanding officer tell me once that happiness is a choice. And it didn't stick with me until many years later as to what he really meant by that. And that's what I'm getting at here with this complaining piece. You choose whether you want to be happy right now. You choose the emotions and the energy that you project into the world at this moment, right now. So don't let it be complaining. Don't bring that toxic thought into your space. In the Navy, if people started complaining, we would tell them to lock it up, shipmate. There is no place for complaining when you're at sea and you're trying to get through something really tough together. So you hear them and you say, all right, I got it. How are we going to make it better? How are we going to fix this situation? How are we going to get through this with a little bit more joy, a little bit more fun? So that's tip number 1. Take the time to create an ideal week again. Figure out what times are you going to wake up? When are you going to shower? When are you going to work out? When are you going to eat and stick to that schedule and routine. It is so vital for your mental health to be able to know what's coming up next. And it's one thing that you can control right now. We can't control what's going on outside of us always, or in the world outside of us, I should say, but we can control how we choose to spend our days. So don't let them go to waste. Use this time to figure out a new routine, reset and readjust. Make sure that you're still productive. Use the time effectively. And in the military, this looks like reveille in the morning at 6 a.m., lunch and noon formations always at 12. And when the sun goes down, they play colors and the flag comes down. And then everyone goes to bed, lights out, 10 p.m. There's a standard, there's a cadence and a rhythm there. When you get into this routine and you're spending a long time, like what I found when I was at sea and on deployments for a long time, is that the days would go by were long, but the weeks went by quickly. So we've already been in this now for 2 weeks, right? Who thinks that that's like kind of quick? All right. That routine is what helps those weeks to go by quicker and for us to get through this time. Tip number 3, rest. Even in the military, even when was on deployment, even when we were in the middle of the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean, we still rested on Saturday and Sunday. It was a different routine. And our body needs that time to recover. So make sure that your weekend routines are different than your weekday routines. Give yourself permission to sleep in a little bit. Work out at a different time. Don't focus on work. Watch something that brings you joy and makes you laugh. Read a book or do a craft or hobby. Make sure that you rest, but not for too long. That's the key thing here. You get right back into it on Monday. It's Monday morning, and I hope that I'm giving you some military motivation on Monday morning to get you excited and pumped about this week. Tip number 4, be creative. My fellow shipmates and friends from the military are some of the most creative people I have ever met in my life. Because when you're at sea and you don't have we didn't have Amazon. We couldn't order new toys for our kids. Luckily, we didn't have our kids at sea, but we also couldn't order, delivery food or all of those things. So we had to get really creative. We would do talent shows. We would do things like they do beard competitions, and for girls, you could wear your hair down. And it was, we found all kinds of ways to have fun. People brought guitars. We played music. There was a lot of wonderful, good music. Playing card games, just making the most of whatever we had. We got creative. Do the same right now. Get creative. Do a date night in. Do something unique and fun in your house. Maybe learn how to dance. We just signed up for a masterclass so that we could learn some new things while we're at home. Rather than just watching mindless television in the evening, we're going to start watching some masterclasses so that we can learn some new stuff. We're working on cocktails right now and how can we make new cocktails. So be creative. Tip number 5, Mother Nature puts on the best show in the world. Mother Nature moves slow. There's a quote that comes on one of my tea bags that everything in nature is done in its time, yet is done exactly when it needs to be, something along those lines. I'm murdering it. But Mother Nature is fascinating. Now, I have beautiful trees and birds and things to look at in my backyard. But on deployment, we had nothing but the ocean and the sky to look at for many, many days at a time when we were crossing the ocean. But what you came to realize is the subtleties and beauty of that ocean, how varied it was, seeing dolphins or flying fish, or the way the clouds moved, or I could almost tell you where we are in the world based off of the color of the water, having watched it subtly change when I've almost circumnavigated the globe on a ship at sea, and the colors of the water change and evolve as you move through different oceans. The same thing can happen in your own backyard. Watch for what the sunset looks like tonight. Watch for all those little changes. Be really present in the environment that you have and watch Mother Nature move right now through this season. For you, it may be winter and slowly turning into spring. Watch that. Watch the daffodils blossom or the crocuses start to pop out of the snow. That's one of my favorite memories from growing up in the Northeast. But watch Mother Nature's show. Really observe it. How often do we go through our lives and we just barely even look at Mother Nature and what's around us? Observe it, absorb her because Mother Nature really is fascinating. Tip number 6, your appearance matters. Okay. I was telling this to some of my high performing friends yesterday. What do you do? I said, I go back to basics. You take a shower just about every day. I still am putting on makeup and getting my clothes on and getting dressed. Just like we do in the military, there's a standard for uniforms. Your hair needs to be tidy and neat, and your skin needs to be clean and fresh shaven if you're a man. And that's all because it matters. Like your mental mood changes when your appearance matches how you're feeling on the inside. So it's so important that you don't just lounge around in your pajamas every day. When you're going to work, dress like you're still going to work. Make sure your kids get up and get dressed in the morning. Make sure that your appearance still matters. Care for yourself. It will impact your mood tremendously. And last but not least, tip number 7, always stay connected to the mission. Now, this is like often in the personal development world called your why or your purpose. Right now, we all have a mission to take care of our fellow man by staying home, by not passing this crazy disease, this pandemic, to anyone else if at all humanly possible. And we have to stay connected to that. We cannot forget that that's why we're all doing this, that this is not just for fun, that this is for the protection and continuation of mankind against this disease that's been really tough. So stay connected to the mission. Now, that is a great, broad, massive, bigger than me or you mission. But what is your personal mission also? What is it that you're trying to do in your work? What is it that you're trying to do for your family? Stay connected to that why right now. That dream has to stay alive. Remind yourself of it. Write it down. Put it on a Post-it note if you need to. Journal. Grab a copy of the Action Taker Planner at my website, laurencosgrave.com. It's right there at the top. Fill it in. It'll remind you of your purpose and mission every day. Don't forget it. All right, Action Takers, I hope that served you. Those are my 7 tips and things that the Navy taught me about how to handle this quarantine. And just to recap, do not complain. Routine. Make sure that you're putting a routine in place, even if it feels not so routine right now. Rest, but not for too long. Get appropriate amount of rest and then get back in the game. We need you, Action Takers. Be creative. Have fun. Find new ways to roll with the punches. Number 5, Mother Nature puts on the best show. Take a look out your window and make sure that you're checking in on the beauty that Mother Nature is offering. Number 6, your appearance matters. Get up, get dressed, wash your face, show up for the day. Who needs you on your A game today? And then number 7, always stay connected to the mission. Whether that's your broad mission to humanity to stay home and make sure that you're protecting as many people as possible and not inadvertently infecting anyone with this terrible virus, and also staying connected with your personal mission. If you need any continuing help or coaching, please reach out to me. You can find me at Lauren Cosgrave Co. on Instagram and on Facebook. Head over to laurencosgrave.com to get your copy of the Action Taker Planner daily page for free. And I will see you again soon. Never forget that normal is boring, success is inevitable, and action taking is replacing the grind.
I hope you loved this episode of The Lauren Show on YouTube or podcast. If you did, why don't you hit subscribe below and share on your social media? If you are ready to have it all without doing it all, why don't you schedule a 15-minute strategy session with me at laurencosgrave.com. Start leading, loving, and thriving today.